right, good morning. Welcome to the Short Vol Show Live. My name is David Lincoln. Thank you to Edward for your help on the chat. So continuation of what happened yesterday, we see that overnight we've had a rally in the markets. If we move quickly here to a chart of the E-minis, I like to look at the major indices overnight. I keep a watch list. You can see my watch list over here on the left of the screen. But I do follow the futures overnight to see what's going on in the aftermarket. And we see here that we've had a pretty consistent rally overnight. If I go to here's a 5-day. Let's look at that, and I'll get out of the way here. We can see a pretty decent rally overnight. We actually did hit the limit up for a while and bounced off of that. I really don't understand why we have a limit up. It doesn't make any sense to me. They should just let it go up as much as it wants to, as far as I'm concerned, but nobody died and left me in charge of this stuff, so there you have it. I know a lot of people are going to be coming on here that, as the title of the video, that had problems being long either TVIX, UVXY, and we all have stuff that loses us money. We all make bad trades, and I'm not saying that at the time it was necessarily a bad trade or whatever, because I don't want to second guess stuff that's water over the bridge. What I do say to people though is just look, something doesn't work out, just cover your loss and move on. I don't anticipate we can go lower from here in this stuff, and this is kind of the third day that I've come on, and the main topic people have been asking about has been people who are long TVIX or UVXY and what should I do. And the last 2 days I've given the same advice. I said, okay, well, do something today to mitigate your losses. My most likely thing to do would be to sell half. That way you're half out of your problem, and it's not a happy solution, and it's no fun losing money. Believe me, I know it. I've lost I've lost $200,000 in one day before. I've lost $600,000 in 1 month before. I've worked for somebody who lost. I was working in Chicago Board of Trade for a trader. He lost all the money that he was given to trade with, which was something over $200,000 in one day. And I arrived at work, and you have to go through these turnstiles, and I put my key card in the turnstile, and it didn't work. So I found out I had been fired from a job because my boss lost so much money. And the way I found it out was I arrived at work, and my key card didn't work in the turnstile anymore. So believe me, I feel it. I know what it's like to lose money, and I know it's not a good feeling. But you gotta just move on. Get out of the trade. And move on. There's opportunities out here in the market, and don't get stuck on one trade. And but that being said, in the future, take this as a lesson. I've been trading the VIX products pretty much exclusively for the last 3 years, and I'm never long these things, never. And yes, of course, I understand why people got long TVIX. In a sea of red, this was one product that was moving up hundreds of dollars a day, and I understand why that was attractive to people. B, I'm not saying that there isn't a chance that TVIX can go higher from here. It certainly could go higher from here. However, what I'm saying is that it's gone lower the last couple days, and it certainly could go lower from here. If you're just holding on to a loser for long periods of time, it doesn't make sense in a stock, but this is different than a stock. TVIX and UVXY are destined to go lower. They will take out the all-time lows at some point, and they are headed to zero. All these products are headed to zero. Thus, my rule of thumb is I don't stay long these things, or I'm never long these things. But my rule of thumb for people, if you want to trade to the long side, and I know some traders out there who make their money by trading this stuff to the long side. They're just good at it. I'm not one of them, but they're just good at it. But the rule of thumb that I use is don't stay long TVIX or UVXY for more than 48 hours. If you really got to get long it, jump in. If it doesn't work within 48 hours, bail out and reconsider your situation. There's nothing wrong as a trader to look at your situation and change your strategy if things change. So once again, I feel bad for people that have lost money. I feel bad because I know a lot of people have already lost money on other stuff. Then they see a way to maybe hedge those losses by buying a TVIX or UVXY, and then that doesn't work out either. I know that it's not a fun thing, certainly. But, water over the bridge, my friends. At this point, it's water over the bridge. I would suggest to you to at least do something to cover your trade and move on with your life. It is what it is. I don't personally think TVIX is ever going back to 900. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, you can pull up this video and, flame me on the video later or something. But it's likely that TVIX never sees 1,000 again, certainly. People have questions when they look at the TVIX chart. Why does it show that TVIX was like $50,000 years ago? So if we pull up the TVIX chart, and this is a 3-year chart, and it shows 4,719. And people say, when you see that, you think of like dries or something. You're like, wow, it could go back there. If I'm buying it for 38, that certainly seems like a good risk reward. If it was 4,000, I'm buying it for 38. Seems like a great deal. But the thing is that you have to remember this isn't a stock, right? And this is based on futures, and the futures expire. So the futures that were active when this was 4,000 are long gone, buried, done for. And this represents months and years of it rebalancing where one future was way lower than the other. Usually the front week future is lower than the front month future is lower than the second month future. And every day it rebalances. And that cumulative effect of rebalancing is what makes this decay. Now, TVIX was never $4,000. This is just an extrapolated number because it keeps splitting. It reverse splits. And so if you took away all the reverse splits, that's what the number would be. But TVIX has always stayed in the low ranges. In fact, throughout its history, it's never been $1,000 before because we've never seen a spike this big before in TVIX's history. So the $1,000 print that happened a few weeks ago is the highest it's ever been. This 4,000 number is due to reverse splits over time, and there's no mechanism that can get this back to 4,000. We'd have to stay in backwardation for such a long time that the market would have to go below zero before this could get anywhere close to 4,000, and there's a good chance this doesn't get to 1,000 again. Now, if we look at the chart for the last 20 days, hindsight is 20/20, and once again, I'm not here to say, oh, you shouldn't have done this. I told you so. I really I don't want to use the word hate, but I really dislike when people on Stock Twits or other places come on and say, well, you should have listened to me. If you'd only listened to me yesterday and bought Apple or sold Tesla. That's ridiculous. You shouldn't listen to somebody online who you've never met before and make huge financial decisions with your money based on what that person says. So I'm not going to come back and say, oh, you should have listened to me yesterday, because I don't expect people to listen to specific recommendations of mine. What I expect people to do is use their brain and learn from various sources, wherever they be, whether they be online, classroom instruction, whatnot, and use your own brain to make decisions. So I would think that if you watch a video and I'm talking about stuff, that would be, a very small part of your decision-making process. But I certainly wouldn't give a lot of credence to something that you hear by some uncredited source online. I can give you my bona fides as a trader. I have been trading since 1994, and I've was a professional trader since 1994. I got out of being a professional trader as my full-time job in 2005. And in the last 3 years, I've just come back to trading. But overall lifetime, I've made a lot of money as a trader. I've taught options theory. I've taught for the SIBO, visitor training sessions, this sort of thing. Anyways, my point being, you don't know who you are dealing with when you just watch a video online. Somebody can, be a good-looking person and make a really slick video and not know what the heck they're talking about. And I see tons and tons of stock market sites that are like that online. People should never be recommending that you be buying TVIX, especially when it's up in $300 or $400. And I don't know why they did it, but in the end, I don't blame. In the end, as a trader, we have to take personal responsibility. When you lose money, it's not to say, oh, well, I'm going to blame that website that told me to do that. I'm going to blame that. That's not the way to be a responsible adult. To be a responsible adult, you take responsibility. For me as a trader, if I buy something or I sell something, that's ultimately my decision. I get to keep the money if I make it, and the buck stops here. So who's to blame if you make a bad trade? Yourself only. And the only way to become a better trader is to take responsibility for that and say, wow, I messed that up somehow. Let me look back and figure out what I did wrong. Or a lot of times with trades, it's not, if you lose money on a trade, it's not that you messed up. You might have done like the odds-on thing. If you took a bet, like let's say somebody said, there's a 90% chance of something happening, and you place money on 90% chance of something happening, and then it's just that random time that it doesn't happen, and you lose money. Did you make a bad trade? No. And if you keep making trades that have high probability, you'll make money in the long run. It's just trading doesn't always work out the way, it quote unquote should, or you expect it. And that's just the way it is. So let's go to the charts here for a second. We are seeing once again the volatility futures trending way lower, down another 7 points in the April future now. It looks VXX to open down $10. TVIX looking to open down $150, and UVXY to open down almost $20. So we're seeing the continuation of the vol crush here, but we are not coming out of backwardation here. If we go to VIX Central here, and if you're new here, this is more kind of the normal stuff we talk about. If you go to VIX Central here and we look at the charts, if I can get out of the way here, we can see that the curve has not changed that much. We still see we're in backwardation by 10%. We still see that upward sloping curve. We still see the VIX way higher than the futures. In fact, the spread between the front month future and the VIX, which we call the roll yield, it really hasn't changed much. There's still 11 points there, so that's a big spread. So what this tells me is that this whole thing is coming crashing lower right now, and until it stabilizes, it's still iffy what's going on out there. But this volatility crush that's happening right now is bullish for the stock markets. A lot of people follow the VIX, and when they see the VIX come in like this, big money managers are going to go ahead and start to commit capital back into the market. So more and more people are becoming savvy to the fact that a down move in the VIX like this means that it's a go signal for big money managers to put money back in the market. So we've seen a lot of head fakes lately, but there is a possibility that this crush just continues in one direction for a while, that we just have an extended down move in volatility, up move in the markets right now. If we look here at the chart, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself because certainly we can head fake. And as I said yesterday, is it too late to jump short on the VIX now? Have we already made a big move? Well, we don't know that. We won't know that till after. We have made a big move down, though, so far. The VIX 20 points off the high, down to 50. It could continue straight down, or it could head fake back up. I don't know. Nobody knows what's really going to happen. So it's a tradable situation here. I'm not going to make some, I don't have the answers for you. Nobody has the answers. I can't tell you, okay, get short, get long here. That's going to have to be up to you. What I can tell you is that the futures seem like we're continuing lower. It seems like the trend is lower at this point. It seems like we have hit the peak of the VIX, but things can head fake. If we go back to 2000, and 8 once again. I've done this before, but I think it's important to take a look at 2008 where we head faked big time. So let's just take a look one more second at that before I let you get on with your day here. So back in 2008, we had a similar spike, and you can see the spike here. And this is, big periods of time. This is monthly here. So this is several, each little area here is a month. So if we close up just a little bit more here. All right, so this is 2008. Look, we came from, hold on. Okay, October, November. So we're up around 89. We got all the way down to 45, right? And then we went right back up to 80. So could we repeat this? I mean, we've seen the up move to 80s. We've seen down now. We're down to like 50 something. Could we make another up move like this? We certainly could. Now, for me, the probability is that we don't. The probability to me is that we continue lower. However, there's a possibility that we do get a spike like this. It will require some, an additional level of bad news, some sort of bad news for that to happen. But it's certainly possible. But if I was playing this stuff and I was trading to the long side, I wouldn't be betting on a spike back up right at this second. It seems like the momentum is moving lower. Once again, I don't know what's going to happen, but to me, to get long a TVIX or a UVXY, even here with them down a little bit, seems to be going against the trend. Remember, this isn't a stock, and there's no reason why TVIX is going to revert back to 500 or something like that. We are still in extremely high volatility. 50 is extremely high for the VIX, and the pressure is to the downside medium term. Let me put it that way. So let's take a look at the VIX, just a regular chart of the VIX for the last 3 years, just to illustrate to you that we are still extremely high in the VIX, even with the down move. Look, you can see this, and it shows a print here of 35 or something. That's wrong. That's an outlier. An outlier is when there's some bad data or something. That 35 print is not real. I'm not sure why it's there. But you can see even down here at 54, we're still higher than the 2018 spike. So I would be very careful about getting long volatility here. It appears to be like you're catching a falling knife, in my opinion. All right, let's take a look in the chat here. Do I have anything up in chat? Let's take a look at the chat. Sorry, my screens are all wacky today. Yeah, so once again, we are still in a very elevated level, so I would be very careful still about buying volatility here. I know it would be great to kind of scoop stuff on a down move and then ride it back up, but the pressure is to the downside now. Has there been a surge in Crane standing? I'm starting to sell all TVIX at the open. Has there been a sudden surge in volatility? No, actually, volatility we've gone lower. There was a surge. The markets are up. The Dow futures are up 900. Yeah, TVIX right now is 263 bid at 264. Yeah, the Dow futures are up 900 right now. The Nasdaq up 375. UVXY is 51 bid. Should we market sell, free market open? Daniel, I don't want to be giving specific information for what individual traders should do because it's just not, I'm not licensed to do that. It's not really my thing. My point to people is that, if the trades didn't work out, I would just take the opportunity to sometime today do something to lighten up your position. That would be my opinion there. And the thing is like I said, don't beat yourself up too much about having a losing trade. It happens to all of us. It happens to Warren Buffett. It happens to all of us. And it's not fun, I know. And I feel for people that have lost money. I lost money all the way up. I was short this stuff. Like, VXX now is 42. I was short from 20 to up here. So I feel your pain. I don't see any need to, and TVIX, we might get a little pop here. It's certainly likely that the market could sell off a little bit today. So, we're way down right now. If I was long TVIX, I would maybe hang out a little bit, see what happens today a little bit, but I would just make sure by the end of the day today that I have taken some sort of action to lessen my problem. That's what we want to do. That's what a risk manager would say. For me as a market maker, I had a risk manager, and I would have to call him every day. And what he would say to me is like, when I had a problem where something was going against me or I had too much risk, he would say, Dave, I'm going to walk you in off the ledge. So I would imagine myself, standing on a ledge outside a building and, threatening that I was going to jump off the building or something. And my risk manager was at the window saying, Dave, it's going to be okay. Let me help you here. Just give me your hand and we're going to bring you in off the ledge. That's the way I thought about my risk and the way my boss would describe it as well. And like I said, if you sell half your position today, if you're long this stuff and you sell half of it, if it goes back up, then you'll feel bad, but you did the responsible thing. If it goes down, you'll feel bad that you didn't sell the whole thing, but at least you've cut your problem in half. So that would be my recommendation to you guys, is just to move on with your life. It's not the end of the world, and lesson learned. You can tell your grandkids about it when you're a billionaire after you've made a ton of money in this market. There's stuff to do here to make money. There's going to be other opportunities for you out there. So look to the future. It's over. Yes, somebody said here, spot needs to drop below. Parallel X says VIX needs to drop below April futures for contango. That's very correct. If we look at the term structure right now, we are what's called inverted and in backwardation. And what that means, inverted because spot is above the price of the futures. Usually in normal situations, in normal times, what we like to say is 80 to 85% of the time, the spot VIX is below all the futures, and the futures are sloping the other way. So in normal times, let me see if I can draw this really quick. In normal times, you would have the VIX price below the futures, and you'd have the futures sloping in the opposite direction. So if I outline this here, usually, let's see if I can move this sort of, here we go. Usually on this chart, the VIX would be down here and the futures would be sloping upward like that. And when you have an upward slope like that in the futures, that's called being in contango. Right now, it's the opposite, and that means that we still aren't back to normal. For this to get back to normal, to normalize, we need either nothing to happen for a while or the VIX to continue to go lower. It appears to me, by the way the futures are moving right now, the futures are moving down faster than the VIX can move down right now. And that to me means that the people that are trading the futures are feeling that we're going lower. Now, usually the term structure is not predictive of where we're going. But when I see this spread widen, when I see the VIX down and the futures down, but the VIX isn't catching up with the futures right now. The futures are down more than the VIX is. And that, to me, speaks to the fact that we have a vol crush occurring now that's going to continue for a while. As far as what should you do today, I don't, it's really got to be up to you what you decide to do. If I knew all the answers, I wouldn't be here talking to you online. I would be retired in some, in some tropical paradise or something. It's unclear what to do right now. I fortunately am short VXX coming in today, so it's a good day for me in that I'm short VXX. But we've already made a big move down, and so the question is, do you jump on now, or do you wait for a little pop? If I was just initiating a position, if I was thinking, oh, I want to make a short vol position, I would probably wait until we get a day where volatility goes up a little bit, where we have a little pop to jump in. But there are those who would say, well, there's a huge vol crush happening right now. Let me just jump in and I'm going to ride this down as it continues lower. Certainly over the next month or two, stuff is going to continue lower from here. The VIX is not going to stay at 50. Once we get a VIX down to like 30, then it becomes a little bit more questionable, because we could see the market stay in a heightened volatility level for some period. It could even stay around 40 for some period. Remember, we're over 35. We're like 33 points off the high right now in the VIX. So there certainly is room, 20 points off the high in the VIX right now. So we certainly could pop back. But the general feeling right now feels like volatility is going lower, and that's the trend right now. The trend has shifted. If we look back to the chart of the VIX once again, we can see that, when you look at the chart, it kind of looks like we peaked. It kind of looks like that 85 was the high, right? Now, I don't know if, we stop here and we stall and we have another up day in the VIX before it goes lower, but I do know that eventually we're going to continue lower. This is like a mountain, and we're going to come off the other side. You can see this line here all the way down to 35. That's just bad data that printed 35. And people were talking about that on Twitter this morning. The VIX was never 35. It's a miscalculation by a computer or something. So I would disregard that. So there you have it. It's sucky to lose. It's certainly not fun losing money, like I said, and it's happened to me before. So what, Jet Fraser, tell me what happened with gold. I didn't really follow it. So let's see. Gold. Oh, gold up, huh? Gold up $100. Wow. So market goes down and gold goes down. Now market goes up and gold goes up. That is crazy. Take a look at gold here. And this makes sense to me. I like to say that an ounce of gold never changes its value. The value of an ounce of gold is that it will buy you either a good suit or a bad horse. And so that never changes. What changes is the value of paper currency. And when the U.S., starts supporting the markets, when they start handing out checks for $1,000 to every person, that speaks to the value of the U.S. dollar going down, right? The more dollars they print, the less each dollar is worth. And so people are buying gold, or the gold price goes up. I like to think of it as the gold price is never really moving. What's happening is the value of dollars is going down. Gold is still worth the same it was. It costs more dollars to buy gold now than it did before. So all these programs that the government's talking about to spend money and print more dollars, that is making people say, the dollar's going to be worth less if they hand out all these dollars to people. It's probably a good time to get into gold. So that is why, to me, it makes sense. When you think of gold as a flight to safety, you would think, well, market's down, gold should be up. In this case, gold up, in my mind, due to the fact that all these government programs are going to devalue the dollar. So this is more a reaction to the dollar being worth less than specifically gold being worth more, in my mind. So we are set to open in 2 minutes. I'm going to let you go on to the open. Appreciate you watching. Appreciate y'all. Probably come on at the close today. Hey, what's up, Eric? How's it going, buddy? Crazy market out there. Nice to see some familiar faces. Nice to see the new people coming in. You guys are great. Love you all. Best wishes today trading. Be careful. If you are long UVXY or TVIX, my advice would be to lighten up a little bit at some point today, because we can continue lower. Once again, we all make bad trades. I do it all the time. You're not alone. There's no one out there who knows exactly what's going to happen. That's a myth. And all these websites that show these guys saying, oh, my top 10 traders, we pump iron all day and we make 200% a week. That's not true there, folks. So don't believe the hype. All right, I'm going to get onto the market. Best of luck to everybody. I will see you soon. Thank you, Edward, for your stream support. See you guys later.